I say love, it is a flower, and you, it's only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking, that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking, that never takes a chance. It's the one who won't be taken, that never seem to give. And the soul afraid of dying, that never learns to live. When the night is being too lonely, and the road is being too long, and feel love is only love is strong. Just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, grows the seed with the sun's love. In the spring becomes the rose.
Ah, what a beautiful way to start the morning. Good morning, Yaron.
Good morning, Keith. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and you?
I'm good. I hope I helped the seed of this month to grow.
You definitely are planting a seed as we kick off the month of March of planting seeds and harvesting good as here we grow again. Yes, and that song, the lyrics have such meanings of not only speaking of spring and the rose, but that process of the evolution of growth, which I'll be speaking a lot more of and about this morning. So thank you. And I love your t-shirt. Hashtag be true. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Yaron Spiwak, our music director here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox. I'm the spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. And a big mahalo and hello and welcome to all of you that are here with us today as we come together, as we do each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Time live, to be in community, to come together to honor the power of the divine that exists within you and within me. And so if you're joining us today through Zoom, a big hello to you. And if you're joining us through Facebook Live, a big hello to you. We finally got that little link up and running this morning with a little bit of technological glitches, but I think it's ironed out at the moment. And if you're joining us at a later date through our YouTube channel or another venue, hello and welcome. As I said before, we come together just to honor that divine that exists within you and within me. And so as we kick off our service this morning, I'm going to dive right into our multimedia to just give us a visual hello to take us on this journey of our service this morning. You'll see on the screen that there is a being of light who places her hands together next to her heart and bends forward in an act of namaste, which is a Sanskrit meaning of the God, the power, the divine, the light in me, honors and acknowledges it into you. And so I invite us all this morning to take a deep breath in as we begin this journey together of our service, place our hands on our heart in prayer position, bending forward, saying namaste as we begin this time together of the divine, the God in me, honoring, celebrating, and acknowledging the God, the power, the light in you and all of humanity. As a community, we've come together for a little over 30 years in the land of Los Angeles, honoring all aspects of life, practicing the science of mind that you'll hear a bit more of in a moment. As a community, we welcome all races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all abilities, for we stand with you, for you, and as you, for we're all one expression of life. Wanting to remind you that you indeed are safe here in our community known as the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. We want to welcome you, and we affirm together, as been done for many years, and beloved Dr. David Walker, our founder, would say each and every Sunday morning, and I invite you to say it with me. We welcome one and we welcome all. And so who are we as a community? We're a community that teaches primarily the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes, who created a philosophy of faith and way of life known as the science of mind. The essence of the science of mind is there's only one energy in the universe. That energy is good, and that you and I individualize that energy. Therefore, we too are good. That we both process, experience, and express this energy through our mind, because there's only mental energy that's taking place in the universe. And so we do that in the way that we act, react, interact with the thing itself, that life force. And so not only do we exist as this force of life, as individualized expressions of it, but we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law. And so to bring that into a very concise statement, we experience life relative to our awareness and engagement in the power of the divine that we each are. And so we practice becoming more and more in tune with how we use our mind, how we show up in life, and indeed, how we let the law and life do its thing through us. The vision statement for our community is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. I invite you to hear those words anew. We support individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And so I invite you today, as I include myself and all sentient beings, that we are on this journey of our spiritual awakening, that today is a day that we remember who we are in a new way. And in so doing, we become more personally self-empowered. Before we move into the next phase of our service, which is a ritual, I'd like to invite on the screen someone who is incredibly spiritually awakened and definitely has personal self-empowerment. Our musical guest today from Hawaii is the one and only Faith Rivera. Faith, will you come on and just say hello?
Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.
I'm so happy to be here and to hear you do your thing, Reverend Keith.
Thank
I
you.
miss it. This is
Oh,
a gift to me. So thank
thank you. Well, you're a gift to all of us, and I can't wait for you to share your gift by means of music and your heart and your soul later today. So you're all in for a treat as Faith brings her love and light to us. So we'll see you in a moment, okay, Faith? Good. So we continue our service this morning by opening with a morning ritual, and that ritual is called Calling in the Light. And so I invite us all to get centered where we are right now, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And become ever more aware of the light of life that exists within us. We perform this ceremony, this ritual today, to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. And so the purpose of this ritual is to draw into our collective, into our gathering this morning, a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we each possess as complete expressions of the divine. For we are one. We are one family walking this planet. And so our centering affirmation this morning is a Sanskrit proverb. And it is this: look to this day, for it is life. the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the realities and truths of existence, the joy of growth, the splendor of action, the glory of power. For yesterday is but a memory, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes yesterday a memory of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. So look well, therefore, to this day. And so, continuing in our ritual of looking forward to this day, let's begin by singing a song together of affirming peace on earth, which I think, as we all know, will bring forth a greater manifestation on earth, making today better than it was before we engaged in peace. The acronym for peace is Purposeful Energy Activates Conscious Evolution. And so let's do our part by singing this beautiful song together that Yaron will take us through. The lyrics will be on the screen.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow to take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so I affirm for each of us, peace is present as a quality of the divine, but also as a state of mind. And so we nurture that which is deep within us, consciously choosing to plant the seed of a broadening awareness of the qualities of life that exist within us, and then choose to use our power as a being of nature to give of the very thing that exists within us, for the sole purpose of multiplying and magnifying that which is within. And indeed, in so doing, we begin to walk more harmoniously with each other on this planet. This is a good thing. It is a good opportunity, and we use it wisely, we use it lovingly, we use it compassionately, and let it be as we say together. And so it is. And so happy to have our musical artist with us today. You got to meet her just a moment ago. We have a long, rich history. She's a magnificent woman, a great talent, and is now living. Faith, please join us on the screen. And she's living now on Oahu, in the land of Hawaii, with your family and your little ones, which I can't believe. The oldest is 9 and your younger one's 5, you said, right?
Yes, yeah, not so little.
Not so little. It seems like just yesterday that you had your little one in your belly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole other life, but so grateful for Zoom and that we can be
Uh-huh.
together, no matter what.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Faith, I know the song that you're going to sing for us is an original, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll let you sing to
Yes,
us.
yes. Rise was written for the Association for Global New Thought. It was their opening ceremony in San Diego, and the longer version had me do a verse, then they would speak, then I'd play,
Uh-huh.
and so it was this big epic thing, but it really talks about um, us rising individually and collectively. I love your vision statement, that we're just here walking together, right?
Right.
To let God do its thing through us. So this is really what the
Absolutely.
song is about. And it's a time to rise.
Yes, it is. So I can't wait to bear witness to God doing its thing through you. You're just so wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Faith Rivera.
So I'll take a breath. I close my eyes. I open my heart. I take a deep breath. Let the healing start. I lift my hands. I plant my feet. I let love in. I feel the beat that's calling, calling, calling us to rise, rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me. I ready my soul, I clear my mind. I'm here and now, in present time. I feel the power of 1,000 suns, lighted up the dark. Oh, we rise as one. Oh, rise, rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Sing if you want. Oh, rise, rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me, rise in me. I sing to you, you sing to me, you sing to me. Change up this noise, it makes me harmony. Come on and rise, oh rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh, rise, yes, rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me, rise in me. Heart to heart, heart to heart, hand in hand, hand in hand, no turning back, onward to promised land. Do you feel the power of 1,000 suns, lighted up the dark? Oh, we rise as one. Love's calling, calling out your name. Love's calling. It's why we came. Love's calling, calling out your name. Love's calling. It's why we came. Come on and rise, oh rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh rise, yes, oh rise. Spirit, rise up, rise in me.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful on so many levels. And I love the lyrics of Spirit rise up as me,
Thank you.
as it can do nothing else. Well, it just rose up as you in that song. And thank you for that, both lyrically, beautifully, musically, all of it. So thank you for letting it rise through you. Look forward to seeing you in just a moment after my message. So, ladies and gentlemen, Faith Rivera, we just love her. Thank you, Faith. And so, as we now kick off the month of March, we're moving beyond the month of February, of course, where our theme was Let Love Lead the Way. Remembering that we were called to let love lead the way, to open your heart to love, to view everything with love and embrace love and life. Obviously, that's a very big challenge, and challenge meaning from the perspective we're challenged to live that way. And so this morning, my message for us will be to kick off the month of March. And I have visual aids on the screen for all of us as we move into March. Hello, March, as it rolls in to us here on the West Coast of the United States of America. You can certainly feel that spring is in the air and see the flowers budding that is taking place. Our theme for the month of March is planting seeds, harvesting good. So I invite you to hear that anew in relation to your life and what's transpiring today. Planting seeds and harvesting good. Well, what does that mean to us? Well, the great teacher Deepak Chopra tells us this: desires are seeds waiting for their season to sprout. From a single seed of desire, whole forest grow. And so I invite you right now to feel this deep connection within you of the desires that you have in your life and of the seeds that you're willing to plant so that the forest of these desires become fulfilled and grow. It can only take place when we choose to commit to doing our part in this co-creative process, and to realize that through our awareness, through our ability to use our mind, that we have to not only the opportunity, but we're instructed here to be careful with what seeds that we allow to take root in the garden of our heart. For not all seeds bear good fruit, meaning not all seeds bear fruit that reflect the good of life, our divinity, that essence that lives within us. And so how do we do this? Well, Dr. Ernest Holmes, the teacher, the founder of the Science of Mind, tells us this in the writings of how to change your life. He says, in your spiritual garden, you're always planting something: desires, longings, and hopes, or fears and worries. There is no special reason set aside for this kind of planting. Therefore, the subjective mind, soil, must be in the right condition all the time. You're always planting, and you cannot afford to have the good seeds dropped into soil that contains a mass of weeds. So take a moment and do a self-inventory of the subjective mind soil in your mind. And is it a mess of weeds, or is it clear, fertile, productive soil ready to take what you give it and produce good? Ernest goes on to tells us you cannot afford to plant bad seeds. Thoughts of negation, worries, fears, angers, hates, or resentments. Such seeds will grow as just as rapidly as the good seeds and will bring forth a crop of problems, just as surely and abundantly. The soil of the garden has no power or inclination to reject bad seeds while accepting good ones. Similarly, your subjective level mind, the creative medium of the law, also is entirely impersonal and will just as readily take your negations and produce for you a crop of illness, poverty, hardship, difficulty, or inharmony. Let's hear that again, not to just speak of negative, but so that we hear it, so that we can make a choice as to how we want to identify seeds and plant them. He says the soil of the garden has no power or inclination to reject bad seeds while accepting good ones. In other words, it's impersonal. Similarly, Your subjective level mind, the creative medium of the law, also is entirely impersonal and will just as readily take your negations and produce for you a crop of illness, poverty, hardship, difficulty, or inharmony, which of course none of us want. So what do? Well, he tells us to be careful about your planting. Be careful about your planting. What seeds are you planting into your subjective mind soil today? Or have you planted up until today? What we know with this philosophy, faith, and way of life, what we know about the mind itself, what we know about the principle that is not bound by precedent, is that we're not subject to what has taken place in the past, that we can release and let go and choose anew. The great 12th and 13th century poet Rumi tells us what to do in regards to this. He says in this writing from raising ecstasy out of us, with every breath, I plant the seeds of devotion, for I'm a farmer of the heart. I invite you to affirm that with me in the privacy of your own home. Take a deep breath in. Feel the energy of life itself and affirm with every breath, I plant the seeds of devotion, for I am a farmer of the heart. Well, what are we being called to be devoted to? To our own journey of personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, which means that we must be a conscious participant in the spiritual awakening component. Rumi goes on to tell us then to be conscious of this. In this earth, in this soil, in this pure field, let's not plant any seed other than seeds of compassion and love. You and I have the opportunity today to begin to plant seeds of compassion and love into this pure field of potentiality. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's look at the word compassion. Traditionally, the definition of compassion is sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. But that's not what I'm speaking of today. What I'm speaking of is compassion in the way, if we break the word down to come, pass, I on, meaning to live with passion, to live with the purpose and the intention of passing the I am of the divine, which we all are, on to the universe. The I, that thing within us that is eternal, that is infinite, that is impersonal, non-judgmental. It just is and responds to us according to the law. It's what Ernest says in this statement of, we are infinite mind, and infinite mind is also in us. It is by this mind that we think. This mind is eternal, therefore we are eternal. So we're being told here to then plant seeds to live from this place of eternality within us and to let it out and honor that place of eternality within others. In other words, to live in that act of namaste, the divine, the light, the eternality, the infinite nature of God within me is expressing and giving and honoring itself to you. And so therefore I plant those seeds into my subconscious mind today, that not only do I engage in these actions, but I engage in the evolution of my consciousness whereby I know this to be my truth and the truth of all others. He also tells us that we're here to plant seeds of love. Well, what is love? Well, Ernest tells us in the writings of his work that first and foremost, to remember that the law of mind, this subjective soil, this responsive law, uses each of us neutrally, receptively to whatever is given it. And so love then is what we get to give to it or ignite from within us. Love is the central flame of the universe, he writes, nay, the very fire itself. Love, and we're not speaking of the human emotion, we're speaking of the essence. It is written that God is love, and that we are its expressed likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation, the impartation of the divine through the human. Love is essence, an atmosphere which defies analysis, as does life itself. It is that which is and cannot be explained. It is common to all people, to all animal life, and evident in the response that plants have to those who love them. Love, he goes on to tell us, reigns supreme over all. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires from the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Love. For only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depth or meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact that God is love and love is God. And so you and I, being a complete expression of this power, then we too are it, this love, individualized. So we're here to plant those seeds. For the planting of the seeds is a journey. We hear through our vision statement that we live on the journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And as we take that deeper, pun intended today, we look at it through the lens of planting seeds. Of planting seeds in our lives so that what we get to harvest is indeed good, a reflection of the divine. Good is a synonym for God. And so looking at the screen as Snoopy and Woodstock shows us this act of planting these seeds, we must remember that it requires patience for those seeds to then be growing enough so that we may harvest them. But to remember that in this journey of planting seeds, that there is beauty to be found in the journey, even though at times it feels like a slow, arduous journey. But let's remember that a flower seed is not designed to bloom in a day. A butterfly does not spread its wings in a cocoon. So you and I, as we plant our seeds of good, of our divinity, of compassion, and of love, let's take our cues from nature and take the opportunity to slow down and just take it one seed planting, one thought, one day at a time, and trust that on this journey of seed planting, something greater is happening that we may not be understanding, but we have the ability to know that good is happening, to trust the timing. This past week, I was a guest on a internet podcast radio show. And it was asked of me at the very end of how does one instruct someone who's new to this teaching? Where do they begin if they're in a place of suffering or doubt or worry or misgivings or struggle in life? And I said, we begin right where we are by knowing that we are enough, and then choosing to honor the qualities of the divine that exist within us, which are peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom. And so today I encourage you and I, each and every one of us, to realize we don't have to plant the seeds of those qualities of life already being within us. But we do need to plant the seeds of our awareness to know that they're there, and then to use them in a way to propagate good on this planet. And to remember that the day that we plant the seeds is not the day that we get to eat the fruit. That it's important for us to remember on this journey to practice patience. That is important for us to remember that that's the way it works. And that patience, although it may be a bitter experience, it's important to know that its fruit is sweet, as the great philosopher Aristotle tells us. That patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. And you and I know, have had experiences in life where we have been patient, whether it was easy or not, and the fruit has shown up quite sweet in our life by being able to experience good that we've harvested as a result of the seeds or the intentions or the desires that we've planted in life. But it's important that to not only be alive and awake and alert while we're patient, but be very clear on what it is that is unfolding for us within the journey. I love this little comic on the screen that tells us how important it is to be clear on what desires and intentions we have. It's the little young man looking at his dad as he's reaching up to an apple tree and says, "Sorry, Dad, I thought you meant we were going to pick a phone." Cute, of course. But what I want us to remember today is that as we continue to plant these seeds with our desires and our intentions, to also plant that awareness, as I said, of the qualities of the divine making themselves known to us and through us, so that what we harvest is a result of clarity and purpose and decisiveness. And that can only take place when you and I become more and more aware of what we're planting and our awareness that unfolds on the journey. Well, how do we do that? I love this article that's written by this woman, Ann Baylor, which is titled "The Secret to Harvesting the Life You Want is Found in Your Choices." It's found in your choices. She writes, "If I ask you what comes to mind when I talk about sowing seeds, I think most of us would think of farming and gardening. I grew up in the farming world," she says, as did I on some levels, "and I'm grateful for my understanding of sowing and harvesting. It helped me understand the lessons I learned later in life about the choices I make." She goes on to tell us that in gardening, you sow a particular seed to get the crop you want. The seed you plant is the exact crop you will harvest. You can also sow seeds for the quality of your life and the direction of your future. These are seeds we plant and harvest that impact our spiritual and emotional well-being. Even though I understood sowing and harvesting in the gardening world, I had very little understanding of what it meant in my emotional and spiritual life. I found myself in a place I became all too familiar with, asking the question, how did I get here? Now, you might be familiar with this place, and the not so simple answer is this: I found myself in that place, good or bad, because of the seeds I sowed. And the seeds in this case are the choices I make. Choices. Choices. Are you aware of what choices that you make in your life? She goes on to write in her article, to put it another way, our choices are the seeds we sow. Our choices give us a life of great satisfaction or a life of disappointment. Now, I know that's very black and white, and life isn't always black and white or satisfaction or disappointment. But the reason I bring this up for us today is I want us to remember that we are always at choice and that we have a multitude of choices to choose. And to take self-inventory in this moment, and as we continue on our journey of finding personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, to become ever more clear of the choices that we've made in our life, as well as the choices that we want to choose to make in our life. Because choices help create chances which cause changes. And we no longer have to go through life letting life show up for us, just happenstance. That as awakened beings on this planet, understanding the way that mind works, you and I get to choose how we want to participate in our own conscious evolution by making choices that reflect our divinity. Many of you have heard this quote that I'm going to use in a moment many, many times, because it's probably one of my second or third favorite quotes on this planet. And it's from the book, The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. And I invite you to hear it in a new way today because it does speak to the act of conscious evolution. He writes, choice is the engine of our evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. Choosing to evolve consciously is much better than unconsciously and most often far less painful. Trust me, been there, done that, he writes. The power of choice is the greatest gift we've been given. Second, only to the gift of life itself. And so I ask you today, are you willing to become more aware of what you're choosing in life to think, to be, and how you show up? How you choose to know yourself as a divine being and then act accordingly? Are you willing to make the choice to take a quantum leap in mind and to plant seeds that lean into the possibility of magnificence being made and made manifest through you? Remember, the principle itself of creation is not bound by the precedent. And so not only are we here in this month of March to look at planting seeds of good, but also harvesting them, having the experience of good in our life. Well, what is harvesting good? Well, a spiritual harvest is the result of the divine's work in the heart of the human. This process of spiritual growth and maturity, which we all are on, whether it's conscious or not, comes from the heart's regeneration to the recognition of faith, and oftentimes is a long journey. In other words, what we're being told here is that as you and I begin to grow into this place of personal self-empowerment, because of the spiritual awakenings that have taken place as a result of us knowing ourselves to be divine beings, to live from that place of good that already exists within us, from honoring and acknowledging the peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom, and then activating that through the seeds of awareness so that they may be made manifest and we can harvest them. We must choose to live from that place of compassion and of love, and to recognize faith, in other words, the patience that is required of us on this journey, so that we tend to the seeds in a manner that they must produce the fruit that is the equivalent to the intelligence of the seed that has been planted, the joy of harvesting our good. Ernest Holmes writes about this concept of harvesting our good in a book that was written and in a talk that he gave called How to Harvest Your Mental Good. And I'm going to read some of that to us. And remember, it's a talk that he had given. And so he speaks to having planted the seeds already, about planting into our spiritual garden, as he spoke about a moment ago, tending to our seeds of thought. And he writes this about the next steps. He says, we've tried to plant in love and to cultivate our gardens with expectant enthusiasm. We have chosen and tried to be happy gardeners and to plant our seeds in faith. Love, happiness, and faith are the three most fundamental things in life. We've discussed how it is that the seeds of thought planted in the soil of mind will produce a harvest exactly like the seed, because we are dealing with a law in nature. We've also considered another important thought, that when we plant seeds, we must let them alone. We must not pull them up or expose their roots to the sun, lest they wither and die. And we've come to realize that there is no difference between sowing ideas in the mind and sowing seed in the soil, for the same law works in both instances. It's important for us to remember we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite mind which receives the impress of our thought and acts upon it creatively. This is the simple key to the whole situation. It's the simple key to the whole situation. He goes on to tell us that this is why Jesus said, it's done unto you as you believe. And so today I invite you to ask yourself, what beliefs do you hold in your life? Are they reflective of the possibilities of the good life you can express and experience? What's here for the thinking for you? To remember that if you want to grow an apple tree, which we saw on the screen earlier, you must plant an apple seed. And that's true too of technology. If you want a new iPhone, you got to plant the seed of attracting new technology in your world. But I digress. He says, if you want to grow an apple tree, you must plant an apple seed. If you want to grow an orange, you must plant an orange seed. If you want to experience clarity, you must practice clarity. If you want to experience equanimity, you must practice equanimity. In other words, plant the seed and then practice it. If you want to experience transformation, you must plant the seeds of possibility. And so I invite you right now to take a moment and ask yourself, what do you believe that is within the realm of possibility for you in your life, that you're willing to plant the seed of it? And let the law of nature do its part. For it will. It always will do its part. Because a plant grows from a seed, as we can see on the screen. And as you look on this journey, there are many different stages of the seed now growing to the root, and from the root, then it emerges through the soil, and from the emergence through the soil, letting the sunlight nurture it, it then grows into the fulfillment of its entire desire. Remembering, as Deepak Chopra tells us, that inherent within the seed of intention is the fulfillment of its desire already. And so today, you and I get to plant the seed of our desires, and then to leave them the hell alone so that they may fulfill their destiny. And to remember that within that seed already is that intelligence for it to become fulfilled. And to remember that you're on this journey of planting seeds and harvesting good, to not judge each day by the harvest that you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. To not judge each day by the harvest that you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And to remember that we're all on this journey together. For all living things, as John Roger tells us, are individual instruments through which spirit thinks, speaks, acts, and reveals itself. We're all interrelated in a common accord, a common purpose, and a common good. We are members of a vast cosmic orchestra in which each living instrument is essential to the complementary and harmonious playing of the whole. And so as you continue on your journey, remember to honor the journey of others. Faith is going to sing a song for us in a moment that calls forth this awakening within us, and the lyrics say, "Hello, sun and bright blue sky. Got a feeling this day is going to be fine. So fine. Pretty birdies and butterflies, so beautiful. Everything so alive. I'm going to bloom where I'm planted. Like flowers in a garden. Seasons change, people change, and I can too." Let's you and I let today be the day that we not only plant seeds of good and harvest it, but know that all is well, and so it is. Faith, I hand it over to you.
Hello, sun and bright blue sky. Got a feeling this day is gonna be fine, so fine. Pretty birdies and butterflies, so beautiful, everything's so alive. I'm gonna bloom where I'm planted, like flowers in a garden. Seasons change, people change, and I can too. Let me be brand new, get in the flow. It's time to grow, like the first of spring. Gotta spread my wings. It's time to fly free, happy, alive. It's time to fly free, happy, and la la la. Free, happy, and la la la. Now life is lit up so colorful. Got rainbows dancing in my eyes, it's so bright. I let the sun kiss me head to toe. I'm fresh, I'm golden, here in the light. I'm gonna bloom where I am planted, like flowers in a garden. Seasons change, people change, and I can too. Let me be brand new, get in the flow. It's time to grow, like the first of spring. to fly free, happy, alive. It's time to fly free, happy, and alive. Free, happy, and alive. I'm free, happy, alive. I'm free, happy, alive. Yes, you are. Oh, you're free, happy, alive. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're free, happy, and alive. We're breaking through. Let me be brand new. Get in the flow. It's time to grow. Like a first spring. Gotta spread my wings. It's time to fly free, happy, alive. I'm breaking through. Let me be brand new. Get in the flow. It's time to grow. Like the first spring. Gotta spread my wings. It's time to fly free, happy, alive. It's time to fly free, happy, and alive. Sing with me. Free, happy, and alive. Free, happy, and alive. Free, happy, and alive. Thank you, guys.
Free, happy, and alive. It is definitely time for that. Thank you. So wonderful. Thank you so much for your beautiful song. Fantastic. I love the lyrics. You co-wrote those lyrics, right?
You know, I actually wrote all the lyrics. My friend
Oh,
did the tracks, yeah. And I
fantastic.
wrote it for an advertisement, but it became so much more about my story. Exactly what you said, Keith. I was changing manure to fertilizer. I mean, that's what this song was about. And me practicing exactly what you said in your talk, practicing to see what was good while I planted those seeds. So,
Fantastic. Well, thank you. It was a beautiful song, and you're a beautiful being. Love you.
you too. Love you.
Good, thank you. So, a big thank you to everyone who's here today as we move to the next part of our service. And if you're here for the first time, I just want to take a moment and honor you and acknowledge you for being here. This is a time in our service where we come together to support our community financially. And if you'll see on the screen there, the methods to do that are as follows. And before I dive into those methods, I just want you all to know that all contributions, all conscious giving is honored and appreciated and accepted and celebrated and put to good use, certainly with the backing of the spirituality that we practice here at Centers for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. The methods are, you can go to our website, csl-la.org, and click on donate, or go to the app in the App Store. Our app is Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. You can be guided through that of clicking on the upper left bars, and the screen will come up and you can see the donate tab. Or mail in a check. Our address is 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood 90038. Or if you'd like to handle it privately, you can call me, and my phone number is on the screen. And so as we all prepare to do that, we'll invite Yaron back to the screen to take us through our conscious giving song. And let's hear those lyrics and sing along with them today in a new way, remembering as we learned what love is in a new way today, as per the writings of Ernest Holmes. The title of the song is Love Is My Decision. And so let's hear it anew as Yaron takes us on that journey.
Thank you, Keith. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision, yeah, my decision right here, right now.
And so I affirm for each of us that we are indeed love fully expressed, that self-givingness of life who does its thing through us in the form of creation. So we each choose to be a conscious participant in that today by giving, reflecting nature's nature within us, trusting and knowing that that which we give returns to us multiplied abundantly. We let it be as we say together, Namaste. And so it is. Thank you, Yaron, and thank you to each of you. Couple of announcements to look at this morning is about what's going on at CSL-LA. Just a reminder that you can find all this information on our website, csl-la.org, or our app in the App Store that I referenced earlier. Our class continues this week of the Essential Earnest Homes. I know it sounds a little blah and boring as the Essential Earnest Homes. I can assure you the class is not. I've written a curriculum that's really fun and inviting and informative and self-reflective. And so we move into class 6 of the 8 this Wednesday night, and I encourage you to take the time to block out in your life a couple hours of this, to take this class and to learn more about the power that you have in your life and how to plant the seeds of the very things you desire to experience and to harvest in your life. $25 per person, and it's online, and there's the links, and you can find all that on our website. Also, a reminder that on Wednesday mornings, all times that I talk about are Pacific times, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. I take us through a guided meditation. Everything also is on Zoom. The link is there for that. It's a wonderful time on Wednesday morning that we can come together and just go deep within and anchor ourselves into this oneness of life, and then trust that process. And it's really beautiful. I know it's early on a Wednesday morning. You don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to be seen, or show up and be seen and throw a baseball hat on, which is what I do. We do record those, and you'll have access to those later. Those links can be found through our website and or through our app. Also, a huge reminder to have you follow us on our social media sites. Our social media sites are, we're on Facebook, and we're live streaming through Facebook right now, as well as you can find us on a YouTube channel and Instagram. And if you're not following us there, I encourage you to do so. There's great information that is being put out on a weekly basis. Sorry, I keep rubbing my nose. It's itching a lot this morning for some reason. I'm sure there's some metaphysical meaning to that. And if anyone knows it, you can throw it in the chat window, or email me or text me at a later date. Also, like to remind you that we have licensed practitioners that are available to help you do healing work if you'd like to do that, to know who you are in life. So you can find that information on our website and or through our app as well. And I just want to let you know there's a couple of things that's new to us. I'm now sending out a text every morning between 7 and 8:30, a group text that is an affirmation text. And so it's getting a great response. If you're not receiving it and you would like to, please reach out to the center or me, and we can make sure that you're added to that list. Or if there's anyone that you'd like to add to that list, we would also do that. Each week we send out a weekly e-newsletter that goes out first part of the week that's got all this information that I share with you as to what's going on here. I hope to make sure that you're getting it and reading it and availing yourself of that information. Also, like to let you know, as I stated earlier, I was on a podcast, invited to be on a podcast on Friday called Truth Be Told. I went into it not really knowing a lot about it, and what a great experience and a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share not only some stuff about my life, but my journey of finding my personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, how I came to ministry, and also a bit about the teaching. And so a link to that will also be on our website and our Instagram, and Robert will make sure that that's available to all who would like to hear it and or see it. Please avail yourself to that. It was fantastic 45 minutes. I really, really, really enjoyed doing that. I want to say some thank yous for this morning's service. We had a great time together, and technology threw us a curveball, but we caught it and put it back out as a straight ball. I don't know if that's the right term. I am not a sportsman when it comes to that analogy or languaging, but I think I did okay there. But with that said, some thank yous. A big thank you to Robert Hensley, who is the human conduit to keep us going through technology. So, Robert, a big thank you to you and all that you do to support us here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, not only administratively, but technologically and through our social media. You're just a real delight and a fabulous being, and thank you for being who you are. The same for our beloved audio technician, Travis Smith, who was also having technology challenges this morning and worked through that and was able to show up and do his role and is just always there to take such good care of all of us so that we can present to you a high quality production to the best of our ability. So thank you for that, Travis. A huge thank you to Yaron Spiwak, our music director, who not only helps us book talent, but works with us to perfect that talent to the best of our ability and content as well. So thank you, Yaron, for being here and joining us in from a new set today. Also traveling the world as we're all on these journeys going forward. And a huge, huge thank you to our guest musician today, Faith Rivera. It's so wonderful to have you back into this realm, Faith. We had a conversation later in the week is that we both have missed each other, and she wondered why I had not reached out to her, and I wondered why she had not reached out to me. But clearly the seed had been planted and that good was harvested today, and we all got to reap the benefit of that. So a huge, huge thank you to you, Faith Rivera, not only for being here today, but just being who you are in life. We're going to close today with a meditation. I'm going to take us through that meditation. And after that, we will say goodbye to those of you that are with us on Facebook. A big hello to you all before we say goodbye. And then those of you on Zoom will be able to stay on and we can say hello to each other. So with that said, let's begin our meditation. So I invite us all to close our eyes, become aware of our breath as we inhale and exhale. Peering into the back of our eyelids, that space we call the optic screen. Looking into the darkness. Let's choose to let that darkness represent the fertile soil of subjective mind. And use our imaginative abilities to see ourselves planting seeds of conscious evolution. Of miracles making themselves known in our lives. Of greater love, both esoterically, humanly, and that spiritual love, the agape love. We plant seeds of beauty and joy. And we plant seeds of abundance, financially, emotionally, physically, relationship-wise. And we plant the seed of knowing that we are enough, just as we are. And so we turn and consciously walk away from these seeds with the deepest of faith, a full assurance in the heart that the law of life, the principle of creation, will do its part as we know that the intelligence and wisdom is already inherent within these seeds for the fulfillment of their desire. And so we continue on our journey of our own personal self-empowerment through the spiritual awakening of knowing that the law is doing its part. And so we have a sense of expectancy, ready to meet and greet this good that shall emerge through the soil, bearing its fruit for each of us to experience. And so we harvest this good when it's ripe and ready, with the deepest of faith and conviction that the unfailing power of life is always doing its part through us. And so we honor its nature of being infinite, omniscient, and omnipotent. And so we continue on this journey, holding our head high, with a fire in our heart and trust in our soul, knowing all is well. Letting it be made manifest in our life as we say together, amen, 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 hallelujah, and so it is.